following is a special presentation of HBO Sports.
They said it couldn't happen. A man taking flight? What a preposterous idea, they once thought. Man may be fleet of foot, but he'll never break the 4-minute mile.
1954, Roger Bannister, man's first 4-minute miler.
For thousands of years, man has stood in the shadows of the moon above.
It's one small step for man.
It was unthinkable that he would ever walk upon its surface.
One giant leap for mankind.
There was no one greater than the Bey, the Sultan of Swat, and everyone believed that his home run record would stand forever. Whoever thought in this decade one would see the fall of apartheid, the collapse of communism, and the movement toward peace in the Middle East. With all that man has accomplished, they still laughed when a 45-year-old fighter attempted to become the heavyweight champion of the world. History is not a divine force. It is the instrument of those who make it. Tonight, George Foreman attempts to make history again.
Live from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada, HBO Sports presents a doubleheader edition of World Championship Boxing. First, flyweight champion Francisco Tejedor defends his title against the undefeated Danny Romero. And then in our main event, George Foreman makes his first title defense in 21 years against 26-year-old German challenger Axel Schulz. In the same arena, the MGM Grand Garden, where he knocked out Michael Moore to make heavyweight history on November 5 last year, George Foreman makes his first title defense since he lost the heavyweight championship to Muhammad Ali in Zaire in 1974. The first time Foreman has ever defended the heavyweight crown in the United States of America. Hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Lampley. Unless someone else has been so designated in some remote part of the world by a heretofore unknown governing body today, there are at this moment 4 men doing business in boxing under the banner of heavyweight champion of the world. For what it's worth, George Foreman is the only one of the 4 who holds the title that has a lineage that goes directly back to Mike Tyson, to Larry Holmes, to Muhammad Ali, indeed all the way back to John L. Sullivan. George Foreman, to the degree that anybody holds a title which is from the origins of boxing instead of out of a can of alphabet soup, is the man who holds that title. Larry Merchant, our HBO boxing analyst, working with me once again. As always, we look forward to that event later on this evening between Foreman and Schulz. And a common question in the sport, Larry, he's accomplished so much. Why is George Foreman still fighting?
We all get asked that question a lot. My answer is always something like this. George is a fighter. George is a fighter who also happens to be a performer, and he's that rarest of fighter performers. He's also an entrepreneur. This is what George does. Businessmen make deals, musicians make music, fighters fight. George just happens to be one of those people who can do it all. I don't think anybody since Muhammad Ali has used the ring so much as a stage. He loves that part of the show. And he also loves it as an office. Proof of which is that he's getting $10 million tonight to fight a Deutsche Mark. What a rate of exchange, Jim.
So it'll be George's great showbiz value that will be at stake a little bit later on this evening. But first, a potentially terrific flyweight world championship bout between Danny Romero of Albuquerque, New Mexico, Francisco Tejedor of Colombia, working with us again, subbing for George Foreman as he does so ably and so often now. Gil Clancy. Gil, what about this battle between Tejedor and Romero?
This fight is a matchmaker's dream. Tejedor is a good boxer, good lateral movement, some power, and an educated left hand. He's going to be in with a pressure fighter that can knock you out with either hand at any time. Should be a great fight.
All right, both fighters are already in the ring, so we take a look at Danny Romero, who scored a spectacular first-round knockout when last we saw him on the undercard of Tony Jones in this arena November 18. You see the record, 23 wins, 21 of them by knockout. It's his first title fight. Danny Romero is only 20 years old. A vast experience difference between Romero, who's the challenger tonight, and the man who holds the championship in this fight, Francisco Tejedor. Tejedor, out of Colombia, has fought 44 fights in his professional career. Maybe it's more than just coincidence that of the 42 fights he fought in his native country of Colombia, he won them all. The 2 times he ventured outside Colombia, once to Korea and once to Mexico, he lost both of those bouts. You can see that he is a boxer puncher, 30 KOs on his dossier. So Francisco Tejedor makes his first trip to the United States to fight here in Las Vegas. And we take a look now at the tail of the tape for this fight at the 112-pound weight limit. 26 hours ago, Tejedor weighed in at 111 pounds, Danny Romero at 112. But that, I emphasize, Larry Merchant, was 26 hours ago.
They were weighed in the last hour. Tejedor was 116, a normal rise in weight from taking water. Romero weighed 125 pounds, an addition of 12% on his body weight. So what that means basically is we have a featherweight fighting a bantamweight for the flyweight championship of the world.
Fun stat numbers, Larry.
Here you get an example of how busy these fighters are. Tejedor is a busy boxer. Romero is much the more accurate and harder puncher. But Romero is a boxer as well. He doesn't throw as many jabs as Tejedor, but he can fight. He's not just a slugger.
And rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Francisco Tejedor Danny Romero fight will be 12 rounds. There is no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the last round. Jim.
All right, Harold, now let's go up to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the pre-fight introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the world's largest hotel, casino, and theme park, the MGM Grand of Las Vegas, Nevada, where tonight, Top Rank Incorporated, along with your undisputed, undefeated king of beers, Budweiser, this Bud's for you, present an evening of World Championship Boxing, sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission and the International Boxing Federation. For this first bout, the IBF supervisor ringside is Francisco Fernandez. The 3 judges assigned, scoring the bout on a 10-point must system, will be Dalby Shirley, Hector Hernandez Vilchis, and Stuart Winston. And when the bell rings, the man in charge of the action, referee Richard Steele. And now, ladies and gentlemen, 12 rounds of boxing for the IBF Flyweight Championship of the World. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing gold, trimmed in red, and weighing in at 112 pounds. His professional record, 23-0, 21 KOs. Ladies and gentlemen, from Albuquerque, New Mexico, introducing the undefeated challenger, Danny Kid Dinamita Romero. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing silver trimmed with red and yellow, weighing in at 111 pounds, con Barranquilla, Colombia, presenting the flyweight champion of the world, Francisco Tejedor.
¡Vamos, vamos! ¡Fuerte ese aplauso, carajo! ¡Huepa, huepa!
Spoke to both fighters in the dressing room. I'm cautioning everyone to obey my commands at all times. Shake hands and good luck.
Romero has a chance to be the most exciting fighter in boxing south of Oscar de la Hoya at this moment. But I find myself wondering, Gil, whether this tremendous fluctuation in weight can slow him down somehow.
Well, it certainly has to slow him down, Larry. I mean, putting on all that weight within 24 hours or whatever is certainly going to change it. But again, what he's trying to do is take advantage of his strength. He's going to try to outstrength Tejedor for the entire fight.
Well, we saw how sluggish James Toney was last November 18 after a similar short-term weight gain going into his battle with Roy Jones. He wasn't the same fighter that he might have expected to be. Round one begins. Tejedor working behind the jab. Danny Romero lands a looping overhand right.
And you're going to see that educated left hand of Tejedor's every chance he gets. He's tough to outpoint in a round because he's busy and he keeps snapping that left hand out.
Danny Romero insisted to us yesterday that he's taller than Tejedor. Tail of the tape said otherwise, giving a 1-inch height advantage to Tejedor. As they stand facing each other in the ring, it does appear that the Colombian presents the taller picture. Romero with another rainmaker over the top of the right hand. That one didn't land. Tejedor with a straight right hand that lands for him.
Tejedor is a very, very clever boxer. Got very good lateral movement. He can go side to side, especially to his right when he wants to get out of the way of Danny Romero's power. And you can see that's a good snapping jab that Tejedor has.
Left hook by Tejedor that time. Romero tries a left hook of his own, glancing blow. First round, a pretty good start in the boxing match for Francisco Tejedor.
He's scoring with that left hand. I mean, Romero is not going to be able to take those punches for 12 rounds. He's going to have to swell up and bust up if the fight goes any distance.
Romero trying to get inside to throw to Tejedor's body. Tejedor moves away. Romero now landing a left and just misses the right hand behind it. They all look so quick in these weight classes, Gil, that it's hard to tell just how much sluggishness might have crept into Romero as a result of all that weight gain.
Well, the thing is that Tejedor is so quick and so fast that he can make Romero look a little slow. Very, very clever fighter, very quick fighter.
Right hand lands for Danny Romero, and he goes to the body with the left hand.
But then you saw Tejedor quickly move out to his right so that Romero could not set himself for those combinations, those powerful combinations that he can throw. There's that side-to-side movement.
And Tejedor showing an ability to go to both sides, sometimes to the left, sometimes to the right. It's going to try to make it difficult for Danny Romero to find him. Good hard left hand by Romero. Romero beginning to land to the body, and with that, Tejedor beginning to back up just a little bit, Gil.
But again, Tejedor just came back with a good combination.
Danny Romero Sr. tending to Danny Romero Jr.
You gotta throw your, you gotta step to your right, Danny. You just get down in the head. I'll get it. Step to your right, porque no te va a agarrar con la, aquí ya te está agarrando con la jab, huh? Okay. No hagas mistake, Danny. No hagas mistake. Check it. You burn it, the overhand by itself. You gotta step in with it, okay? Okay. Okay?
Our Spanish interpreter for both corners in this fight,
okay.
Hector Garcia.
Then step over to your right, and then throw it for the right hand. Okay, get your right hand. And in Tejedor's corner, we have Amilcar Bruiser, the former trainer of the great Carlos Monzon.
We know that father-son relationships in boxing often don't work, but the Romeros seem to have unusual rapport. Senior has been training Junior since he was 5 years old.
Tejedor threw 76 jabs by punch stat count in round number 1. Romero threw 33 jabs. Tejedor landed at a slightly lower percentage clip.
And Tejedor is making Danny Romero respect him, trying to take him off that freight train coming right at him. And that's what he had to do in that first round. That's what he did.
Romero's last 3 fights totaled 5 rounds. So if Tejedor can stretch this out a bit, he'll be putting Romero into what is, for the moment, unfamiliar territory. Danny flirting with a low blow there as he took into the body.
Punches up, okay?
Richard Steele warning Romero to keep him up. Romero getting just a little bit closer in this round, but the right hand missed there.
And Danny is starting to swell already under his right eye.
Hard right hand, snapped Tejedor's head back. Francisco able to move away and move laterally to the right. Uppercut missed by Romero. Hard right hand in the middle of the ring by Tejedor. Romero jabbing to the body, and Tejedor once again ducking away to the side. Maybe not quite as fluid, though, as he was in round 1, Gil.
No, but I saw Romero hit him right on the chin, and instead of it affecting Romero, Tejedor punched right back, which means apparently he takes a good punch. Seems that way to me.
In his 2 trips outside Colombia, he was knocked out by Humberto Chiquita Gonzalez in Mexico City. No shame there. Gonzalez has knocked out a lot of good fighters. And Tejedor lost a controversial decision in Seoul, South Korea to a Korean fighter. First time ever in the USA. Romero running out of gas just a little bit in the last minute of this round, and that gives Tejedor a chance to reestablish the jab and his boxing rhythm. And as we go to Tejedor's corner, our interpreter there is Hector Garcia.
Está marcadito, ¿eh?
Oh, he's so marked. You're really hitting him. Listen to me. What you're doing is okay, but you have to keep throwing those punches. There's nothing. That's nothing. Are you listening to me? Step back and throw that right hand with power.
Respirando duro. Abra la boca.
Romero did land one good punch here, but Tejedor took it very well. The job of the brawler slugger in the early rounds of a fight is to slow down the faster boxer. That's why he's been going primarily to the body, even though he's been winging a lot of low blows. He must slow down the boxer so that he can catch him later in the fight.
Well, Larry, with that extra weight that Danny Romero has put on, later in the fight, he may not have too much left himself.
Round 3 of the schedule, 12. So far, the fight has played more into the hands of the skillful boxer Francisco Tejedor. Now Danny Romero with a wide winging left hook. And there's a hard left hand. Tejedor tends to get in more trouble when Danny's able to bull him into the ropes.
Come up, come up.
Romero taking a little bit of a chance there. If Tejedor had been able to clock him with a right hand, he might have gotten a knockdown out of it.
But again, there aren't too many fighters that can move side to side the way Tejedor can move. You can just see that movement over to the right. Takes a lot of Danny Romero's power away from him.
Romero's going to have to be judicious with the use of his power punches to avoid punching himself out as he tries to find opportunities against the slick Tejedor.
No, holding. Hard to get out. Break. Come on.
That is an educated left hand that Tejedor has. He really knows how to use that left hand. Doubles it up.
There he scored with a right hand lead, and a frustrated Danny Romero wings wildly with the left as he tries to come back in.
There's that side-to-side movement that really is discombobulating Danny Romero up to this point.
Another right hand lead by Tejedor. This time Romero counters with the right hand and lands flush twice. Romero missing over the top with the right. Tejedor gets in a good shot before Richard Steele pulls him apart.
Looked like a good shot south of the border to me, Jim. But Romero was really trying too hard with those big punches.
I think he's being frustrated by Tejedor's effective jab and side-to-side boxing movement. Still to come tonight, heavyweight championship bout between George Foreman and virtually unknown German challenger Axel Schulz. Only the third man from Germany ever to challenge for the heavyweight championship of the world.
Estás aflojando. Ya no estás aflojando, Danny.
Yeah, just keep working him, huh? Just keep working him. And keep pumping that jab at him. He's ducking that right hand, so you got to keep it here and hard. Okay. Yeah. Don't pick that elbow. Okay. Okay? So it don't fly, so it don't go so far away, okay?
Okay. I said jab.
Don't neglect that jab, huh?
Sorry, Patty.
Snake right hand got in.
Yeah, Tejedor has found something good with this right hand lead. There's a hard right hand by Romero in return.
But again, Tejedor was moving with the punch. Took a lot of the power out of the punch.
Left hand sneaked in by Tejedor.
Young fighters, Gil, it seems to me, are more concerned about what they can do than what their opponent can do. They reach maturity when they start to measure what the opponent can do as well.
Well, that's the purpose of a corner man, is to, when the guy's off track the way Danny had been for the first couple of rounds, is to get him back on track. And
there's a hard right hand by Tejedor in the center of the ring, and again.
With a slick guy like Tejedor, I would tell my fighter, forget about his head altogether, because the body doesn't move. Once you start feeling it to the body, you're going to be able to hit him on the chin.
Coming in, you would definitely have given the punching power edge to Romero. But here in round 4, it's Tejedor who has landed the hard punches, and Romero has lost a little bit of steam. Richard Steele's going to call it a slip.
Correctly, I think.
But Romero's still wobbly, and that right hand lead lands again for Tejedor.
And two good body punches by Tejedor. Seems to me, Jim, we're repeating Tejedor quite a bit.
Oh, I think he's dominating the fight at this point, Gil. And Danny Romero, perhaps too anxious to land that left hand, is giving him a lot of opportunities for the right hand lead.
And it isn't that Danny is missing by an inch, he's missing by a foot with these big punches. Again, that movement to the right just took all of the power away from Danny Romero. Again, same thing.
And Romero starting to load up with the right hand, perhaps a sign of frustration. There he does land the left, but Tejedor again moves away and clocks him with a right hand lead.
Jim, now it's getting to be that Romero is going to have to slow Tejedor up. Tejedor, if he can go 12 rounds at this pace, Danny's in a lot of trouble.
Right now, he looks like about the best champion to come out of Colombia since you had one, Gil.
Oh, I had a great one, Rodrigo Valdez. He was a great fighter.
Round 4, a boxing lesson given by Francisco Tejedor to Danny Romero. And in the dressing room, Larry Merchant, George Foreman taping his own hands.
Yeah, and he won't let anybody else do it, and everybody gives him a lot of distance. He's one of the few fighters, maybe the only big-time fighter I've ever seen who does this before a major fight.
And I went in to watch him tape his hands when he was going to fight my guy, Jerry Cooney. When he finished the job, I said, there's no way Cooney can lose. It doesn't even look like he can make a fist. I mean, he's not a great hand wrapper, but it works for George.
I think part of it is, of course, a kind of ritual to get him into the fight. Harold Letterman, after 4 rounds, how do you score this fight?
I know I got it a lot closer than you. I got it 2-2, 38-38. I got it right now even. I gave rounds 2 and 3 to Danny Romero because I thought he got inside and cracked him with a couple of good right hands. And I like the power puncher. But certainly in rounds 1 and 4, without any question, Tejedor outboxed him beautifully. And right now Tejedor's boxing very nicely.
I have it 3-1.
And Gil?
And I haven't given Danny a round as yet.
You've given all 4 rounds to Francisco Tejedor. So,
yes. Third round was very close, but I thought the Tejedor came on at the very end of the round and stole the round.
Opinions varying along an even scale there among the 3 guys who scored the fight for us. Tejedor in the silver trunks against Danny Romero of Albuquerque, New Mexico, fighting in the same weight class in which his hometown of Albuquerque has already produced another terrific fighter named Johnny Tapia.
Great. Step back.
And Jim, I don't know what it is about the flyweight division, but the United States can never seem to develop a good flyweight champion.
In fact, Tejedor told us when we interviewed him yesterday that he regards Romero as an American fighter and that South Americans and Latinos in general dominate these small divisions, and he expects to himself.
Tejedor's cornerman telling him between rounds, Danny Romero is starting to slow down. Let's hit him in the kidneys a few times, and he'll slow down even more. Excuse me, failed translation on my part. They actually said hit him in the liver, not kidneys. Hit him in the liver some more, and he'll wear down.
Well, Romero must think his liver is up around his cheekbone, because that's where he's going.
Solid punches by both fighters.
Good right hand inside by Romero, but he was taking body shots from Tejedor. Hard left hand and a right hand by Tejedor.
Now he's giving him a lesson on the inside, Gil, which is surprising.
No, it wasn't surprising to me, Larry. He's got a very good uppercut with either hands on it. He can fight on the inside, and he's using that left hook to the body very, very well. There it is again to the side.
They trade punches in the center of the ring, and Tejedor is out-throwing Danny Romero 3 punches to 1. Now Danny tries to come back, but Tejedor landing the harder shots. Remember that Danny Romero is an unbeaten fighter. 23 professional fights, never lost. Snapped the head back there, did Tejedor. And now a hard shot from Romero. And it's becoming a little bit of a slugfest, which probably isn't good for Tejedor.
Well, you wouldn't think it was good for Tejedor, but if you watch the exchanges, it certainly was good for Tejedor.
It wasn't doing Romero any good for sure.
Danny, you're having a little too much excellence, okay? You gotta watch yourself.
Get fair. Mira, adentro no le estás pegando con la derecha abajo. You gotta hit him in those ribs, Danny.
Okay.
You're loading up too much.
Okay.
You're not firing right away.
Okay.
Okay?
What round is it? 6?
Huh?
Come on. Okay.
Here you're watching a real professional fighter work on the inside, work to the body, 3 shots to the body, backs Romero off at a distance, and throws a 1-2. Beautiful work.
Again, Larry, you hit the nail right on the head. A real solid professional fighter. Looks like he can do it all. I don't think he's the greatest puncher in the world, but technically, he's a very, very good fighter.
Francisco Tejedor fought in the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles as a 17-year-old.
That's the second time he's walked out into the middle of the ring and clocked Romero with a looping right hand, showing the inexperience of Romero.
And also letting Romero know that he's in there and he's not going to walk right through him.
Tejedor's corner instructing him, keep going to the liver and come back with the right hand. It's been working well so far.
And Larry, I don't think that putting on that extra weight for Danny Romero did him a bit of good.
Well, I think first we have to recognize that he fought his last 2 fights at 118, 119. Now he comes down to fight for the title to 112. I am not sure of the wisdom of a young fighter coming down in weight.
Well, I never really like to make my fighters make an artificial weight. I didn't think it was good for them at all. But one of Romero's best right hands just then right on the chin, and absolutely nothing happened.
By punch stat numbers, Tejedor outlanded Romero more than 2 shots to 1 in the 5th round. 6th round has also seen Tejedor as the more accurate puncher. Hard right and a left by Romero. Tejedor seemingly unmoved by that.
And you know, Jim, when I had Rodrigo Valdez, I got down to Colombia to train him, and all they didn't have a ring. They had a 12-foot square of cement. So you had to learn to move your body and move to get out of the way. And I can see that Tejedor does that very, very well.
Danny starting to catch him a little bit, though, here in round 6. This has been a slightly better round for Romero than the 2 that preceded it. Romero going back to the jab a little bit instead of just winging shots as he had through much of the fight.
That's what he should have been doing from the first round. He went right out as if he was going to knock Tejedor right out, and he found out that he just couldn't do it. He couldn't find him. Now he's trying to set things up with a jab.
Now the knockout seems like an increasingly remote prospect, and he's in all likelihood behind or no better than even on points. Hard right hand by Romero.
But Jim, if you notice the way Tejedor is reacting when he gets hit, it doesn't seem to phase him one bit. Doesn't take him out of his game plan at all. Haven't seen any wobble in his legs. He counters back.
All this makes you what weight really means. It's a 125-pound guy. He's outweighed by 9 pounds, Tejedor. He's getting hit some flush shots by a good puncher. There's another one. And here he is.
You know, Larry, I've been against...
That was Romero's best round, and if that is a harbinger of what's to come, then he's got a shot.
Quedando mucho, mi compañero. Compañero, vamos, no se me quede acá.
Don't stand still.
Ahora ponga los huevos,
You have to put your balls there. Move.
¿Me estás entendiendo?
Are you listening to me? Don't stand there. Open your mouth.
¿Sentiste con golpe?
Do you feel any punches?
No.
No?
¿Sentiste con golpe?
Did you feel any punches?
¿Está bien?
Are you okay?
Bueno, entonces tire más.
Okay, so throw more punches.
No se puede dejar llevar el título. Usted tiene que ganar acá.
He can't steal that title from you. You have to be the better man. You can win this fight. Put everything you got behind it.
Tira más manos.
Throw, and throw.
Déjalo arriba. ¿Está sentido? No. ¿Está cansado?
Get him.
There seemed to be a little bit more desperation in Teodor's corner at this stage of the fight than you would expect. Maybe they are sensing something about what that last round potentially could mean to their fighter.
Well, I tell you, in Amalcon Bruiser, you got to remember he was in with Carlos Monzon and all those tough fights, and he's a very, very good motivator. He just doesn't want to let his guy start the fight that Danny Romero's fight. He wants him moving, which he was very effective with in the earlier rounds. And Danny Romero has become a better fighter since he started to use that left jab.
Hard right hand by Romero. Third time in the fight that a fighter has gone to the canvas, and it has been correctly ruled a slip, not a knockdown by Steele. Hard left hand by Teodor. Danny Romero stops punching for a moment as Teodor comes back with the uppercut. Now Danny Romero is getting himself back together and goes back to working with the jab.
He's a different fighter when he jabs, Romero, but he's in with a guy with a very, very, very quick left jab.
How do you out-jab a jabber?
If you can do that, you surely are going to win a fight.
Good left-hand counter-punch there by Danny Romero, and another good left. Momentum of the fight definitely beginning to shift. Teodor's connect percentage went down dramatically in round 6, and here in 7 again, it is Romero who's the sharper puncher. Good sequence there by Romero. Now another hard right-hand lead by Teodor. And back comes Romero with 2 left-hand counter shots. So Danny Romero suddenly much sharper in rounds 6 and 7, and Teodor's effectiveness wanes in response.
The thing that amazes me that Teodor can stay with him on the inside.
But for how long?
Well, he has been able to do it up to this point. There's a good left hook by Teodor again.
Hard left-hand shot. Romero using the formula of jab and body punches. Just misses the right hand. Hard left by Teodor. And Romero bringing it back. That right hand was a glancing blow. It could have done a lot of damage if it had landed flush.
And you can see, I've always said that a fighter improves 100% once he wins a world championship. This is probably the best fight that Teodor has ever fought. I mean, he's fighting Romero's fight right now and holding his own.
Punch it out, punch it out. Don't hold it.
Romero stepping around with the left hook to the body. Much sharper now, Danny Romero. And you see the result as he begins to put combinations together. Earlier in the fight, Romero was walking in and throwing one shot at a time. Now he's jabbing his way in and throwing combinations.
That made all the difference in the world, Jim. Once he started to use that left hand, once you can hit a guy with a jab, you can feint the jab and then hit him with your combinations.
Reach around him. Reach around him. Reach around him, Danny. You keep boxing him like that. The guy's confused, huh? Okay? Keep reaching around him. Come on,
Deciding you hit.
¿Está cansado?
Are you tired?
No, ¿qué mierda va a estar cansado?
No, you how can you be tired if you were very well trained? Come on.
Escúcheme, jefe,
Listen
con
to me.
confianza, téngase
With
confianza.
confidence.
Póngale
Throw
por
with
su
confidence.
Permiso, que voy a salir.
Listen to me.
Con confianza.
With confidence.
Tire golpe.
Throw punches.
Pase por un costado, pase para otro.
Then move from side to side.
Yo lo voy a levantar.
I'll pick you up.
Whatever happens in this fight, this is a very, very hard fight for a young fighter to go through. And
Absolutely.
it can affect him win or lose.
Well, he may learn a lesson from this fight. He thought he was going to walk right into Teodor and get him right out of there, and he found out differently, and now he's back on his game plan.
Harold Letterman, your score through 7.
Larry, after 7 rounds, I got it 4 rounds to 3, 67-66, Danny Romero. I think he took the lead in round 6 and 7. I just think he jumped on top based on his clean punching, his hard clean punching, his effective aggressiveness, and the fact that Tejedor stopped moving and is fighting Romero's fight.
I have it 4-3 for Tejedor.
Now I have it 5-2 for Tejedor.
And of course, the ultimate decision would rest with judges selected by the governing body whose title Tejedor holds.
But again, you know, it's very difficult when both fighters, neither guy's doing too much, but Tejedor keeps pumping that left jab out, and when a round is close, that makes all the difference in the world.
But there's another Romero combination. Once again, the big difference in the last couple of rounds is ability to put punches together in numbers.
Well, again, Jim, now this round, Danny has not been using that left jab that worked so well for him in the 2 previous rounds. And while they're on the outside, Tejedor is snapping the jab out every once in a while and gives him an edge in that part of the round.
Romero probably have to battle himself to be patient. Stick with the jab, and the formula that served him so well as he began to come back in the middle portions of the fight. Tejedor a little bit more energetic now than he was in 6 and 7.
Again, we see Danny waiting, and Tejedor is scoring points with that left hand.
Right hand by Romero. Tejedor temporarily stopped against the ropes. Now he comes away clean.
I think Tejedor is slowing down some, Gil. He certainly isn't moving the way he did through the first quarter of the fight.
Oh, there's no question about that. In the beginning of the fight, he was just about unhittable the way he was moving from side to side. Now he's really stopped that side-to-side movement. He's just following in behind that left hand. No, very little movement to the right, and that's what was really puzzling Romero early in the fight.
Right hand to the body there by Romero. Right hand to the head by Romero. Crowd comes alive in a bigger way than at any other time in the fight as they root for Danny to pull it out.
The way Tejedor started to feint on the ropes, I thought he was hurt more than he was letting Romero know.
Oh, there's no question about that. Yes, he was bobbing and weaving from punches that Romero wasn't throwing.
Exactly.
Round 8 ends with a combination and a smile from Danny Romero. Meanwhile, thousands of miles and 9 time zones away, the Oder Tower in Frankfurt, Oder, Germany, hometown of Axel Schulz, the 26-year-old who will be battling George Foreman later on tonight for the heavyweight crown. You can see that the crowd assembled there to watch the big screen is not watching Romero and Tejedor. They're watching a German television preview of the upcoming Foreman-Schulz battle. Very nice. HBO Sports banner right in the middle of the town square in Frankfurt, Oder, Germany.
How about the share? Yeah, that's it. That's what we want to do. Y lo agarras con el guante entrando. Okay. Lo más importante es para ganar, ¿eh?
Seconds down. El protector.
You heard Romero say, I'm boxing the stuff out of him.
They forgot the mouthpiece, and
Time.
they have it in there, and it certainly bothered the fighter. They forgot to put the mouthpiece in when the bell rang.
And guys, in round 8, by punch stat numbers, Tejedor landed only 9 shots to 29 for Romero. So the connect percentage for Tejedor continues to shrink dramatically, although he opens here in round 9 with a couple of combinations that land. Tejedor seemingly going back to that right-hand lead that served him so well early, Gil.
Well, the only thing he isn't doing now, Jim, there's very little side-to-side movement, which was the one thing that was really bothering Romero early in the fight. Now he's trying to outfight Danny Romero. He's on the inside, and he's throwing those uppercuts.
From his actions, Jim, the way he's being, the way he's being aggressive, it seems to me he may think he's behind.
Well, the way Amilcar Bruiser talks to him in the corner, he probably does. Again, he's fighting Romero's fight right now. He's fighting a power puncher's fight.
Romero ducking and waiting for an opportunity, lands a hard left hand. Misses with the right, but lands a right-hand shot underneath.
That seemed to bother Tejedor, Jim.
Yeah, that backed him up, and now he's stationary against the ropes. See if Romero can pick out a chance for the left hook. No, he lands the right. And Tejedor has lost the lateral movement completely, Gil. He's just going to stand there and wait, and Danny can take advantage of this big time.
Well, he's on that cement block in Colombia now. The legs are not moving the way they did earlier in the fight. Now,
so Chiquita Gonzalez caught him against the ropes in Mexico City. He knocked him out. Tejedor's legs are starting to go a little bit.
Now what Danny should do is really start pounding the body, because the only thing that's moving now is Tejedor's head. Go back underneath now. You can see the head moving, but the legs are not moving.
But for the moment, Romero is very head conscious. He lands a right and a left. Throws a haymaker left, forgetting to go to the body, which it would seem would serve him very well here.
Keep it in front, Daddy. Keep it clean. Keep it clean.
Tejedor with a good left hand.
And then Romero came back with a right uppercut. He's really getting Tejedor's attention now. There was a body shot.
Yep. And with that body shot, you could see momentarily Tejedor dropped his hands. There are two more good body shots and another hard right hand to the head. Things are starting to break Danny Romero's way as we come to the closing sections of round number 9.
That was a great round for Romero. You don't see many 20-year-old fighters come back from what he was confronted with early in this fight.
There's no question about it. He could have been discouraged early.
Open your mouth. Listen to me. With confidence. You have to move a little better from side to side. He put him against the ropes. Listen to me.
¿Me está entendiendo? Bien, hey, bien.
Watch this young fighter work against a really good champion. He's taken the best the champion has to offer. He has the champion backed up on the ropes, taking his time, not getting wild, looking for the right shots to land.
10th round of a scheduled 12. Danny Romero has been to rounds 10 through 12 only twice. Tejedor 9 times in his career. Part of the vast difference in experience here, but it is Romero who has dominated the middle stages of the fight and carries momentum into the final quarter of the fight.
No holding.
That was a cute little thing he tried there.
That was amazing, like catching a baseball.
Caught his fist in his glove, which can't open.
Tejedor's legs definitely now are not the same legs that he started this fight with. Now he has to fight Romero, which is a very difficult job. Especially with that 10-pound weight advantage.
Time. Go to corners.
Glove adjustment for Danny Romero as there's a loose piece of tape. If anything, probably a break for Tejedor, who would seem to be the more spent of the two fighters at this moment.
Romero trying to become the first fighter as young as 20 years old to win a title since Mike Tyson.
Time.
Body shots to start out for Romero, and then he breaks Tejedor with a left to the head. Tejedor coming back with a straight right.
There's Romero using that left jab again beautifully. And you can see how it set up the right hand right after it.
Come on, don't hold it. Great. Step back, step back.
Tejedor a little bit more active and accurate now than was the case in rounds 8 and 9. Hard right hand over the top for Romero. Hasn't been been able to get Tejedor against the ropes in this round, as he did so effectively in rounds 8 and 9.
Tejedor is now starting to dance again. Maybe he's getting a second win.
There's a hard left-hand shot by Romero, and Tejedor stands still for the moment against the ropes. Romero measuring and trying to get in a right hand. He misses it over the top.
Jim, it'd be so much better to throw that right hand
to the body,
right at Tejedor's chest. He can't get out of the way of the punch.
There he throws a combination to the body and sets up a left hook to the head. Misses again with the right. Tejedor just pawing his punches, trying to keep Romero off for the moment. Finally, he moves to the left away from the ropes.
Whatever is keeping him on the ropes, it's a bad idea, because it gives the impression that he can't get away and that he's taking a beating. And that's a bad impression to give the judges.
Hard left hand. Tejedor seems to wobble one more time. Romero throwing and missing with the left, but lands the right. Strong last minute of the 10th round for Danny Romero. Two different fights. A punch stat numbers comparison upcoming here, which will show you the degree to which Tejedor, in the eyes of our punch stat observers, dominated the first 5 rounds, and then Danny Romero the second 5 rounds of the fight. And there are the numbers. Rounds 1 through 5, Tejedor more accurate and throwing a great deal more than Romero. Rounds 6 through 10, Tejedor still throwing more, but Romero by far the more accurate and the harder puncher.
Gil, this even has to make Romero more impressive, what he's doing up until this point, than we thought of him.
Oh, this is a great learning experience, besides maybe walking out with a championship.
Rounds 11 and 12 upcoming. Francisco Tejedor has never before gone to the 11th round in his 44-fight career. Romero has been here once.
Harold Letterman, 10 rounds. How do you score it now?
Larry, 7 rounds to 3, 97-93, Danny Romero. I think Tejedor absolutely has to score a knockout to win this fight right now. I think Danny Romero's cracking him with that right hand. Incidentally, about that corner thing, the round can't start unless the guy's got his mouthpiece. So Richard Steele called time until they found the mouthpiece.
I have it 6-4 for Romero.
And I have the fight dead even. First 5 for Tejedor, second 5 for Danny Romero. But again, Tejedor is not the same fighter that he was through those first 5 rounds.
And Romero is much better. Romero dictating in there now with superior physical strength, greater energy, much better punching accuracy. Good left jab by Romero.
This is not the over-anxious Danny Romero that started the fight. You can see him moving that head, thinking a little bit about defense.
Well, it's remarkable that a 20-year-old fighter can make these kinds of adjustments, Gil.
Good hard left-hand shots by Romero. Snapping Tejedor's head back.
There's that jab again that we said he's a different fighter when he does set things up with that left jab.
Right hand landed inside for Tejedor. He tries to follow it up, but not a lot of snap in his punches at this point. The more he extends, the better chances he gives Danny Romero to go to the body. Romero triples up with the jab, misses with the right hand. But he's the one who's got a concept in there now. Tejedor just reacting to Danny Romero and trying to tread water in effect.
And you can see Danny is full of pep. He's in great condition. You have to remember, he put on all that weight in a short space of time, but he's still dancing, still moving around.
And he did look sluggish at the outset of the fight, Gil. Could it be that he worked his way back into condition during the fight?
Well, there's no question about it. He's probably taken off 6 or 7 pounds of that excessive weight, probably all water that he started with.
So he's physically better now than he might have been in rounds 2 and 3.
Looks that way to me. Now you can see Danny moving to the right. We haven't seen much of that. Big left hook by Romero.
And a hard right hand. Great combination by Danny Romero. And Richard Steele pulls him off to end the round. But an excited Romero knows that he has all the momentum now as we get ready for one more round.
I want you to box this round. Now I want you to box, and then just keep wearing him down, okay? Don't go out there crazy. He's gonna come out, huh? Okay. He's gonna come out good. No.
Are you hurt? Are you hurt? You okay? This is the final round.
The last round.
This is it.
This is the final and last round. Let's keep it clean, okay?
Okay. Okay, Danny? Okay. Just what you're doing, huh? Okay. Solo kind. Okay. Okay, don't just be going up and trying not to...
And here you see Romero putting the finishing touch on that round and perhaps on the champion's chance of retaining his title. Up to this moment, we thought Romero was a great young fighter coming in here. Right now, we know he's a great young fighter.
He knows how to win, Larry. There's no question about that.
Gillies put so much pressure on Tejedor these past 6 rounds. If you're the trainer, do you want Danny thinking of a knockout in there now, or should he be satisfied just to go ahead and try to punch his way to a decision?
No, I would certainly tell him to box, as he was told in the corner. The big punches come by themselves, especially when you have a guy that's a little tired. You don't have to look to go wild and try to knock him out. The knockout can come. And you can see those hard punches to the body by Romero. That sets up the one on the chin.
There's a right hand wallop, and it'll be interesting to see if Tejedor can last it out. His legs totally wobbly now. Romero looking for one more right hand.
But you see Romero setting things up with the jab now.
And the left hand to the body. And a lot of other good ideas. Maybe on his way to his first world championship at age 20.
You have to give Tejedor credit for having a lot of courage, a lot of guts in there. He's still punching, trying, but he's just being overpowered now.
Danny Romero seemingly so out of sync the first 3 rounds of the bout, a consistently rising tide from that point forward. He has simply overwhelmed Tejedor in the last 6 rounds with strength, quickness, accuracy.
There's that jab. He's snapping that jab out again. I'm telling you, this is going to make Danny Romero an even better fighter than he had been previously.
Takes the left hand from Tejedor. No snap in the Colombian's punches at this point. Thoroughly professional effort by Tejedor, who looks as though he's going to have to taste defeat for the 3rd time outside his native Colombia. Low blow by Romero. Was on the blind side of Steele, and he got away with it. Gutty job going the distance. Tejedor
didn't go the distance yet, Jim. He didn't go the distance yet.
Down he goes.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
He went the distance.
Just barely.
Danny Romero, it's for real.
I agree with you 100%, Larry. He was in with a good, solid professional fighter, a lot better than many fighters that I've seen. And once he got himself on track, he just took the guy apart.
Another brilliant performance by the 20-year-old up-and-coming star from Albuquerque, New Mexico. So barring an unexpected decision here, Romero will have a world title and will move his mark to 24-0.
I will kill you. That world title is ours.
Stay in the ring to the end.
Yeah, I'm happy. He was crappier than what I thought. Okay. It's just all the hype and everything.
Have to assume these are the same things that Danny will say to Larry Merchant when Larry gets hold of him in the ring for a quick interview. Let's take another look, Gil, at the knockdown at the end of the fight.
Well, there he has him against the ropes. That's a bad spot for Tejedor to be in, and you can see Danny with that powerful right hand. He looks setting it up again, put the punches together.
This all happened just as I was prematurely giving credit to Tejedor for finishing the 12 rounds.
Well, you know what Yogi Berra said, it's never over till it's over.
Finally, it was over. The bell could not have saved Tejedor, incidentally, if he had remained on the canvas, so he had to get up to make it through the 12. Boy, that's some crisp punching there at the end by Danny Romero, who outlanded Tejedor 37 blows to 17 by punch stat numbers in round 12. Harold Letterman, how'd you score it?
Let's see, I got 117, 110, Danny Romero, 9 rounds to 3. Commanding win for Danny Romero. Incidentally, one of the judges is Stuart Winston, one of the great judges in the world today.
All right, and Harold, as you saw, had Romero winning the last 7 rounds of the fight. We'll see how the 3 judges have it as we go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the official decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at the MGM Grand, we go to the scorecards. Stuart Winston scores the bout 115 to 112. Hector Hernandez Vilches scores it 116 to 112. And Dalby Shirley has it 116 to 111 for the winner by unanimous decision. And new champion of the world, Danny Dinamita Romero.
A disappointed Francisco Tejedor, tasting defeat here for the 3rd time in his career. 3rd consecutive time he's traveled outside of Colombia and wound up with a loss to show for it. Total punches in the bout, and you can see that Danny Romero, so far behind on punch stat numbers early, came back to dominate, landing 40% to only 28% for Tejedor. Tejedor's jab dominated the first few rounds of the bout, but by the end of the affair, Romero had come close to evening that stat, landing 118, and again, a much better connect percentage. Let's go up to Larry Merchant, who's standing by with the new champ.
Champion, how does that sound? The first flyweight champion in America in 64 years.
Well, I told everybody we're bringing it back to America, bringing it back to my great state of New Mexico, and now we're it. Now we're here to stay.
What did you do to change the course of the fight? Because he was giving you a boxing lesson through the first 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah, you know, the guy was very crafty. We didn't take nothing away from him. He's a world champion, so we just outboxed him. We beat him at his own game.
What made you decide to go back to boxing? Did you feel you were being a little too wild, a little bit too eager early on?
I was too eager, too hyper, too nervous with all you great people fighting for my world title. It was just too overwhelming. I just had to take my time and outbox him.
What do you envision next?
Envision next is going on fighting greater fighters like Chiquita and Michael Carbajal. That's up to the great Bob Arum to work that. And with you guys, we can do it all.
All right, well, you can do it all. You did it all tonight. Jim?
All right, thank you very much, Larry Merchant and Gil. A look at a kid who has a tremendously bright future. Possible fights down the road against Michael Carbajal, against Humberto Chiquito Gonzalez. You ready for that kind of opposition?
Oh, yeah, I think he certainly is ready for anybody right now in the flyweight class. He can really fight. He was tested tonight by a very good technician, and he passed the test.
Might he have learned a lesson about taking off weight and then putting on a great deal of weight before the fight begins?
Well, I thought he learned 2 lessons today. Number 1, you don't fool around with the weight that way. I believe as you come in at his natural weight, has to make 112 pounds. He has to make it on the day of the fight. You can put a couple of pounds back on with liquids. And number 2, he learned that everybody he fights, when he hits them, they're not going to go in one. He started out thinking he could walk right out there and throw bombs and get this guy out, and he was missing and he was off track, and he didn't get back on track until he started to be patient and move in behind that left jab. That changed the fight around.
Yeah, and with that kind of talent, if he continues to learn and learn well, you have the potential for greatness. Remember, Danny's only 20 years old as you watch him tonight. So we get 12 rounds of exciting action in the flyweight class to begin the evening. That's a bonus because most of you no doubt tuned in for what you're about to see next. George Foreman, who has a big family and takes advice from a variety of different quarters on how to do his business.
Daddy,
Yes, George.
if you're going to beat that guy, you're going to have to throw your hook harder than that.
Thank you, George. Now go on and play with your brother.
Okay.
Dad,
Yes, George.
you getting ready for Axel Schulz. Keep your feet closer together.
Well, thank you, George. Now, don't you have some other business you can attend to?
Okay, Dad.
Hey, Daddy,
Yes, George.
I hear Axel's a pretty strong guy. Maybe you should be lifting more weights.
Thank you, George. Bye. Yes, George. Well, thank you, George. Now go play. Big G, don't you even think about telling me what to do. Bye, George. I used to think I knew how to fight, but there's nothing like sons to make you humble.
George, if you don't come here right now to take out this garbage, there's really going to be a fight.
And in addition to George, and the missus, many other distant friends and relatives of George Foreman in the crowd of more than 10,000 here at the MGM Grand Garden as they get ready to watch 46-year-old George Foreman defend the heavyweight championship against unlikely challenger, 26-year-old Axel Schulz of Germany. Welcome back. Jim Lampley along with Larry Merchant once again, getting ready to look at Axel Schulz in this unlikely shot at the heavyweight crown. Larry, what is an Axel Schulz and what brought him here?
Well, of course, there's a tradition in boxing that a new, or in this case, a new old champion has a right to take a easy money fight before he takes on a more serious challenge. It doesn't work out that way all the time. That easy money sometimes turned out to be very difficult money. George himself was supposed to be an easy money fight from Michael Moore last fall. Buster Douglas was supposed to be an easy money fight from Mike Tyson. So George picked this Deutsche Mark because as an international fight it could generate more money than any similar fight that could be arranged. But as my German teachers in high school and college would say, this apparently is ein falscher Kampf, a mismatch.
That's conventionale Weisheit, or conventional wisdom, as we say in German. So we tell you that Axel Schulz, though he's won 21 of 23 bouts, has done it against very lightly regarded opposition. He lost one and drew one with the light-hitting mover Henry Akinwande. Gil, is there any scenario by which Axel Schulz could beat George Foreman and become heavyweight champion?
Well, Jim, you know there's a roof on this building, so we're not going to get a parachutist in here. That's for sure.
Been there, done that.
But he is a game guy, takes a good punch. He's never been down, but he's a stationary target without much offense. I think the only chance that he would have in a fight is if he got lucky and somehow managed to cut George Foreman. Outside of that, I don't think Foreman's going to be an old man overnight tonight.
All right. Let's take a look at what I mean by lightly regarded opposition when talking about the fights that got Schulz here. The recent win streak against James Bone Crusher Smith, who was at the time 41 years old and had lost 3 of his previous 4. Jack Basting had lost 4 of 6 before losing to Schulz. Troy Jefferson, 3 of 4. Al Evans, 10 fights in a 10-year career coming into the Schulz bout. Carlton West, total journeyman. Same too of Kimuel Odom, who had lost 8 of his 12 prior to fighting Schulz. So it's not as if he has done great things to earn this chance against George Foreman. Nevertheless, there's great expectation in his part of Germany for the man who's only the 3rd German ever to fight for the heavyweight championship of the world. So here now, a day in court for Axel Schulz. You may never see him again after tonight. For Axel Schulz, growing up in the small East German town of Frankfurt-Oder meant boxing as an amateur, and only as an amateur. East Germany did not allow its athletes to compete in professional sports, but the destruction of the Berlin Wall and communism in 1989 broke many barriers and gave new hope to an aspiring world champion.
Since 1989, everything has changed, and my dreams and goals of boxing have finally come true. My biggest dream was to fight for the heavyweight championship. That this dream has actually come true means a great deal to me.
While many East Germans took advantage of their newfound freedom and fled to the West, Axel, in making his dream come true, stayed in Frankfurt-Oder and resisted financially lucrative offers to live and train under better conditions in West Germany.
Ja, die großen Risiken lagen eigentlich darin, dass eben, sag mal, viele aus den neuen Bundesländern überwechselten in die alten Bundesländer und insofern...
Yes, I saw the risks of too many people migrating to the West. This, in turn, endangered the East's existence. We therefore decided to stay and show everyone that it is possible to make a successful living in the East.
And though Axel has a larger, brand new facility for training, he finds solace in the crusty, run-down gym he knows best. For years, he prepared here in virtual solitude for the chance of a lifetime that is now before him.
This place has a lot more atmosphere to offer, and I want to use that for the preparation of my most important fight. I want to use this place one more time for its strength and security. That's important to me.
It's also important to Axel to give hope to the citizens of Frankfurt-Oder, an area of little visible wealth or industrialization, by nearly reaching the pinnacle of his profession. Yet he does not lead only by example. Recently, Axel donated generously to a small kindergarten whose funds have been cut by the German government.
The future lies with the children as the next generation, and the children will be excited when they go home because of our visit. But I am sure they will forget to tell their parents about the money. But when the parents go to the kindergarten, they will see the changes and begin to realize what we are all capable of.
Axel Schulz supports the region that has supported him. And despite his fame and success throughout Germany, he has not spread his own wings too far.
Oder die Freunde, die wenigen Freunde, die ich wirklich habe, wo ich sagen kann, sind Freunde, sind eben mit mir groß geworden. Also
well, the few friends that I really have, that are really friends, are those that I grew up with. And they have known me since I was this small, and that is what ties us together. We can, not just boxing. If they have a problem, we can talk about it.
The problem Axel faces now is in the ring. He's only the third German ever to fight for the heavyweight title, following in the footsteps of the legendary former champion Max Schmeling, who fought Joe Louis, and of Carl Mildenberger, who lost to Muhammad Ali. And as George Foreman's hand-picked opponent, Schulz is a huge underdog.
I am quite sure that George Foreman believes that he can beat me, and I will try to prove him wrong. To fight against a legend like George Foreman is a great opportunity for me, and that is where my motivation comes from.
Tonight, Axel Schulz meets up with an opportunity he thought would never be his. Not because of any doubts about what he could do, but because of what he was not allowed to do. On this night, Axel lives a dream that he shares with an entire nation. A dream of freedom. Tonight, freedom will line Schulz's pockets with $350,000. George Foreman will make $10 million for taking him on in this, Foreman's first title defense of the heavyweight championship in more than 21 years since he lost to Muhammad Ali in Zaire in 1974. Well, Axel Schulz is from the town of Frankfurt-Oder, which is on the eastern border of the newly reunified Germany, very close to Poland. It's a gateway city into the East, which has been there for more than 750 years, and tonight So many of Schulz's friends and neighbors have stayed up to what is the wee hours of the morning in Germany to prepare themselves to watch on a big screen and root for their countrymen to do what most of us here in the United States think is the impossible and lift the heavyweight crown from George Foreman. We're going to go to Frankfurt Oder right now, where RTL television reporter Andreas Dieck will fill us in on the atmosphere. Andreas, it must be quite a scene there at about 6 o'clock in the morning German time.
It's fantastic here. Hello and good morning from Frankfurt Oder. We are in the Oderturm, a big shopping mall in the middle of the town. More than 4,000 people came here to celebrate this fantastic boxing night. And the night started early. Since 5 hours they have a big boxing party here. Live bands were playing, fashion shows. You had everything you wanted, and the people are just in great shape. All to keep the crowd awake and to rise to suspension, all the entertainment program, and they wait for the big fight, and they will see it on the video screen right behind me. Later, when Axel Schulz will be the new German heavyweight champion, of course, the party continues.
Of course, the party will continue. So you're telling me that the thousands there believe in their hearts that Schulz is about to beat George Foreman and become heavyweight titleist?
Well, they are quite sure. They are fans and they are friends. And 4,000 people say Axel Schulz will be the second German heavyweight champion in boxing history after Max Schmeling. Yes, they are very sure about that.
What about experts on the sport in Germany? What about German boxing writers and broadcasters, Andreas? Do they too entertain notions that he can win?
Well, it's really hard to judge because Foreman is older, 20 years older, but Axel Schulz can also do a lot in the ring. So they are not quite sure what will happen. Of course, they think he will have a chance and then he will be in box history from 0 to 100. So it's really hard to say, but I think some of them think he can win, yes.
All right, Andreas, thank you very, very much for your report from Frankfurt Oder. Andreas Dieck of RTL Television, Larry Merchant. There you have it, the challenge that is about to be placed in front of George Foreman. Most common question that we're asked, George has accomplished so much in the sport. Why is he still fighting?
Well, I think the real question that for us inside of boxing is it any different for him now?
As champion.
As a champion, rather than as the cuddly grandpa who everybody loved, and now he's a champion. Does that go on? And I don't think so. I think there's something else here. He has to perform up to the standards of a champion. George is a remarkable fellow and all that, but you know, he's won the election, and now the hard part, he has to govern, or as he puts it, I pushed myself to the top of the mountain. Can I keep pushing myself? That's the motivation part of it. The other part of it is the expectations, what people expect of the heavyweight champion of the world, even against a hand-picked unknown, especially because George has been issuing challenges and trying to goad Mike Tyson into a match. So I think definitely that he is going to be viewed to that higher standard of champion and not just as cuddly old George tonight.
Nice recovery, Larry. I led you with the wrong subject, and you gave it the fastball anyway. Gil Clancy, has George Foreman proven, to your satisfaction, that his age of 46 years is meaningless in this context, or is it still possible that George is going to walk into the ring one night and suddenly discover there's no gas in the gas tank?
Well, more important, George has proven it to himself up until this point that he is able to do what he's doing. But I've seen so many fighters look very, very good, and all of a sudden, one night they step into the ring and they age overnight and they don't have it anymore. But I just don't think that that's going to happen to George Foreman tonight.
All right. Well, we're about to see what will happen to George Foreman tonight. But first, one more piece of entertainment from the great entertainer himself. In the present popular entertainment language, George Foreman has discovered that boxing is a little bit like a box of chocolates.
Hi, my name is George Foreman. Let me tell you something about my life, because Mama always said life is like a boxing ring. You never know what's going to happen inside it. I know I'm old for a boxer, but this is ridiculous. Shoot. I am old enough to know Harry Truman, though. Give him hell, Harry had a lot of fight, but lacked confidence.
When the country vote comes in, Mr. Truman will be defeated by another funding.
was the deciding vote when he was elected. Truman then sent me to spy on Germany. I stole secrets from Axel Schulz, distant relative, Max Schmeling, as he prepared for Joe Louis. But the 50s and 60s were really the decades where my boxing skills were developed, aided by some relatives.
He's our musical director, a wonderful violinist, and of course, he's my brother George.
I was the first to learn to float like a butterfly. But sing like Sonny Liston. I had to bail mean old Sonny out of many situations. I learned entertainment value and improvisation from my friend Jimmy.
And the clowns have all gone to bed.
And a smiling personality from John F. Kennedy. I was taught not to ask what boxing could do for me, but what I could do for boxing.
It ain't me. It ain't me. I ain't no senator. No. It ain't me. It ain't me. I ain't no fortune in no.
I don't know how I kept getting involved in politics like that. After all, I was just a fighter. But you know politicians, they love a winner. Representing my country and winning a gold medal in the 1968 Olympics was great. Afterwards, I got to meet President Nixon, who told me winning a gold medal was great. And you watch out for Watergate, Mr. President.
Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
After taking the heavyweight title from Joe Frazier one hot Saturday night, I celebrated all night long with John Travolta. He got famous with those moves I taught him in Saturday Night Fever. You think my rumble in the jungle was tough? What about my trip home from Zaire? I had to change planes in Vietnam. I'm not going to miss my flight. Make peace now, now. It was always my dream to bring peace to the world, as I told Martin Luther King right before a speech of his. I had a dream last night.
Will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood? I have a dream.
During my 10 years of retirement, I became a preacher. But boxing, politics, and celebrity brought me back to the limelight. I gave Evander Holyfield such a tough time in our fight that an old politician stole my line that being over 40 is not a death sentence, I mean 70. Even Nelson Mandela made a comeback, modeled after mine, after 27 years of absence. For me, regaining a heavyweight title at 45 years old seemed like a miracle. People said that before I regained the title, peace would come to the Middle East. And the Berlin Wall would come down. They were right. Even Michael Jordan just said, if George can do it, so can I. Who could have guessed that a simple fighter could bring such amazing changes to the world? We're going to win some kind of award for this.
You never know what you're going to get.
I'm humbled by the boxing-related awards I've received. I really don't deserve all of this. I'm just a fighter. And that's all I have to say about that.
Welcome back live to Las Vegas. Mr. Merchant, Mr. Clancy, did you enjoy the movie?
I gave it about 3.5 stars. Yes, it's a pretty good movie.
Nothing wrong with it that Robin Wright wouldn't have solved. Tail of the tape for George Foreman against Axel Schulz, and you see that George weighed in 256 pounds, 6 pounds over his weight of 250 when he knocked out Moorer last November 5. Axel Schulz's weight of 221 is the heaviest of his entire career. Bunch that numbers, Larry.
I'll take a look here and see just how active Mr. Schulz is. It's not active, not accurate, but he's fighting a bigger, slower target, and we may see those numbers move up. This is where George has his biggest advantage, that big thunderous jab that sets everything up. We'll see how Schulz deals with that, and that may tell us how long this fight can go on.
And Harold, would you like to show us the rules?
Absolutely. The George Foreman Axel Schulz fight is scheduled for 12 rounds. There is no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight, and as we saw in the last fight, you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the last round. Jim.
First into the ring will be the German challenger, Axel Schulz, with the hat covering his self-described hedgehog haircut. First championship fight for Schulz.
Well, this is what a Deutsche Mark looks like in boxing, but he's a pleasant fellow, and if I had met him on the street, I'd say this is a guy who went in the third round of the NFL draft as an outside linebacker from Texas Tech.
More than 2,000 fans here from Germany. They flew out of Frankfurt and out of Berlin to come to Las Vegas and root for their man.
The amazing thing is that even they hadn't heard of him a few months ago.
And you know about his decision victory over Bone Crusher Smith. There's James Bone Crusher Smith right behind Schulz as they enter the ring. He is now the lead sparring partner for Axel.
That is an amazing thing. I thought maybe he's going to work the corner, walking out that way. Maybe he is.
We asked him yesterday if he thought he had ever been in with as hard a puncher as Foreman, and he said, well, Bone Crusher's a pretty hard puncher.
Bone Crusher's also over 40 years of age.
A perfect tune-up for George.
21 wins for Axel Schulz, 1 loss, 1 draw, both to Henry Akinwande of Great Britain, who is the European champion, and Schulz turned down an opportunity to fight for the European Championship for a 3rd time in favor of taking this world title opportunity.
Well, Mama Schulz didn't raise a dummy. And in fact, German athletes of the world-class level are among the most intelligent athletes I have ever dealt with, which I think is important because Schulz is going to try to modify his style to fight Foreman the way Tommy Morrison did when Morrison shocked everybody and beat Foreman.
And fellas, George Foreman's entrance music chosen this evening, Hakuna Matata from The Lion King. It's the Lion King version of Don't Worry, Be Happy.
And here he is, 46-year-old, running to the ring.
Unbelievable. Let's see if he runs up the steps.
Why, when he was a young warthog. When I was a young warthog. Very nice. He found his aroma like a certain appeal. He could clear the savannah after every meal. I'm a sensitive soul. So I sing next hymn.
Foreman's numerous distinctions include oldest to win the heavyweight title, oldest to regain the heavyweight title, oldest ever to defend the heavyweight championship tonight, longest span between winning titles, and distinctions like these multiply with each passing month, and every bout he adds to his long dossier. George Foreman has won 73 out of 77 bouts. He lost in his first career to Muhammad Ali and Jimmy Young. He has lost in his second career to Evander Holyfield and Tommy Morrison. His knockout percentage is the highest in the history of the sport for a heavyweight champion. And now to Michael Buffer for the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, Top Rank Incorporated, along with your undisputed, undefeated king of beers, Budweiser. This Bud's for you. Present 12 rounds of boxing for the universally acknowledged and true heavyweight championship of the world. Sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Chairman, Dr. James Nave. Commissioners, Nat Carasali, Luther Mack, Crispin Rivera, and Dr. Elias Ghanem. Executive Director, Mark Ratner. Lead physician, Dr. Flip Homansky. Ringside physicians, Dr. James Wishgame and Dr. Robert Boy. Timekeepers are Al Bisick and Mike Lachella. This contest is also sanctioned by the International Boxing Federation. President, Robert W. Lee. Supervisor for the IBF is Alvin Goodman. The 3 judges scoring this bout on a 10-point must system will be Chuck Ciampa, Keith McDonald, and Jerry Roth. And when the bell rings, the man in charge of the action, referee Joe Cortez. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the world's largest hotel, casino, and theme park, the MGM Grand of Las Vegas, Nevada. Let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black trimmed with yellow. He weighs 221 pounds and brings an excellent professional record of 21 victories, only 1 loss, and he has 10 KOs to his credit tonight. He enters this ring inspired by 2 great German champions. One, here with him tonight, reigning light heavyweight world champion Henry Mosca. The other, watching television 7,000 miles away in Germany, the 89-year-old living legend, former heavyweight champion Max Schmeling. Tonight, this young challenger plans to follow their lead. Meine Damen und Herren, von Frankfurt oder Deutschland, Axel Schulz! And his opponent across the ring in the red corner, wearing white, trimmed with red and blue, weighing 256 pounds and fighting out of Houston, Texas. In 1968, he captured Olympic gold. And as a professional, his record stands at 73 victories, including 68 knockouts against 4 defeats. He became world champion in 1973. He retired in 1977. But after a decade of inactivity, he returned to the ring with a mission, a quest to recapture the heavyweight title. And on November 5th of last year, he defied the odds. He defied history. And at the age of 45, he defied Father Time, when in 2 minutes, 10 seconds of the 10th round, the impossible dream became reality. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the heavyweight champion of the world, Big George
Axel. All right, Axel, George. We went over the rules in the dressing room. I want a good, clean fight. Obey my commands at all times. Shake hands. Good luck to both of you.
Max Schmeling won the championship 65 years ago. He won it, and the only man in history to win it in this fashion, on a foul from Jack Sharkey. So that's another way that the challenger can become the champion tonight, Gil.
I don't think that referee Joe Cortez, no matter what George Foreman does, he's not going to disqualify him on a foul.
We might be more likely to see the paraglider.
Well, the one thing to watch with the opponent now is the fact that he throws that right-hand lead. And if he's effective with that punch, and he can land quite a few of them, we might start seeing some swelling or or a cut over George's left eye. And I would say that's about his only shot.
He doesn't often work in behind the jab, though. He's unconventional in that sense, and his critics say that while he does throw the right-hand lead, he has a tendency to slap with it.
Well, his right-hand lead, there it was again right away. Right-hand lead is about as strong as somebody else's jab. It's not a big punch, but he throws it often.
Schulz wobbling backward after one early Foreman blow. George off to the predictable, relatively slow start.
Get him out.
Well, one thing George should be doing, he should be snapping that left jab out to see if Schulz can handle the jab.
Get the hands out, though. Get the hands out of there.
And you'll also notice that Schulz keeps his hands very, very high, which means he can be susceptible to those clubbing body shots that George can throw.
And when he does go on the attack, Gil, he's got a habit of winging his punches out wide, and they're few better at coming straight up the middle on you than Big George.
That's right.
Get those out there. Get him out.
Foreman kind of slapping with the jab himself to start off here. Schulz gets in a right hand. Cortez tells Schulz not to hold behind the head while he hits.
And again, George is stalking him, but he's not pushing out that left jab. And this is the most that I've seen Schulz move in the ring in all the tapes that I watched. At least he is moving around. There's the right-hand lead again.
George blocking many of these blows with his gloves. Schulz, the busier of the two fighters so far in round number one.
And as we speculated earlier, he is trying to fight him the way Tommy Morrison did, engaging him only on his terms, in and out.
Foreman with a hard left to the body. Schulz said that he carefully studied the tapes of the Tommy Morrison and Evander Holyfield fights, and that he knew he'd have to change his own style to do well here tonight.
And there's those clubbing right hand by George Foreman to the body.
Combination to punctuate the first round for Axel Schulz. And as we go to Schulz's corner, our German interpreter there is Juan Acosta. You have to outbox him. You have to be calm. Be calm. Okay, be calm. You have to breathe.
Left, you see? Thank you. I know that.
Jab's everything. Jab is everything.
All right, seconds out. Let's get that stool out of there.
George has been faced by previously aggressive fighters who turned into boxers and runners before. He has to know what he wants to do against that tactic.
Well, again, the one thing, a 46-year-old guy, you know, that skin don't hold up as well. I remember the Alex Stewart fight, and if Schulz can keep landing that quick right hand, as he did a few times in the first round, they're going to have to start worrying about the swelling over George's eye.
Because he already seems to have an abrasion under the left eye.
Get him out of there.
And again, Schulz is showing me a better jab, that right hand lead again. We're going to see a lot of that tonight. And he's showing me a better jab than he's shown me in any of the tapes that I watched.
If anything, he looks like a more comfortable fighter here against the huge Foreman than he did against the willowy Akinwande, who seemingly couldn't hurt him.
Akinwande was a very awkward guy to fight, a big, tall guy, a lot of motion. George just plods straight in, as Schulz had done in this fight with
George has landed 5 straight left hands.
There's a good left hand by Schulz, but you can see that George is beginning to shorten the distance between himself and the German.
So far, the German doesn't show any of the stage fright that we got from the British fighter Hyde when he fought Riddick Bowe.
No, he's not hyperventilating.
Hard left hand by Foreman.
Uppercut by Schulz.
Good jab by Foreman. Hard left hand by Schulz, and he takes the left hand in return. Foreman's power beginning to come to the fore here in round number 2.
Come on, get him out of there.
Biggest mystery of the fight, what kind of a punch can Axel Schulz take?
Well, again, the way he holds his hands, if I was George, I'd be going for the body. I mean, you can't really miss him in the body. He keeps those hands very high. Nice counter by Schulz.
Oh, get him out.
Schulz holding his own in most of the early exchanges with Foreman.
Out of there. Come on, work out of there. Work out.
Hard left hand. And Schulz comes back with a left of his own over the top. Foreman beginning to feint before throwing. Right hand connected underneath for Foreman.
George did what he wanted to do in that round.
At the end of the first round in Frankfurt Oder, they were cheering, and you have another live look at the crowd there, 5:39 in the morning. watching their man Axel Schulz trying for the heavyweight title.
Be very calm. You have to move in and out. Are you feeling okay? Yes. You have to be careful. Yes, yes. Yeah, be very careful. Calm, calm. Keep on fighting like that. Don't go too much to the left. Okay, go on.
In close in that round, George did land one very nice uppercut right there. It wasn't flush, but it certainly gave a warning to Schulz, who now is beginning to breathe out of his mouth and maybe overtaken by the event. Let's see how he responds here.
The one thing I noticed, Larry, when Foreman landed that uppercut, Schulz countered right back with a right hand, and it was a pretty good uppercut. Again, we said he had a good chin. He's never been on the deck.
He just saw the standard Schulz combination, right hand lead, left hook up top. And it landed, but didn't do any damage to George Foreman. What about George's defensive capabilities, Gil, slow as he is?
Well, you know, he does fall for feints now, and he gets himself a little confused in there. But he's such a big guy with those big arms that it's hard to hit him with a solid shot. Look how wide open he was then when he missed that right hand, lumbered forward.
Doesn't seem to peekaboo as much as he did a couple of years ago. Maybe because he needs to take more chances now to get punches in. George chasing with the jab.
He's trying to shorten the distance now. He's always had that good snapping left jab, George. He hasn't lost that.
Right hand lead lands for Schulz over the top. Remember, as Gil has told you, he uses that punch much the way other fighters would try to use the left jab.
And there's one of those debilitating right hands to the body by George Foreman. They take their toll in the later rounds. Ask Michael Moore.
George blocking again with his arms and his gloves up top. With the left hand and then declining to throw the right. Schulz comes back, trying to counter with his own left.
I think one of the mistakes they're making in Schulz's corner is telling him to be careful. I think that's the worst thing you can do with George when you start to respect him too much. When George throws a punch or misses a punch, you have to be ready to counter. Not try to hide and get out of the way.
Get the hand up there. Get the head. Don't hold the head. Come on, George. Get the on top.
Schulz able to cuff George with a looping left as he stepped away. There's another looping left. And again, Cortez telling Schulz not to hold Foreman behind the head. This is the German crowd here that is chanting and making the raucous noises that punctuate the end of each round.
Axel, I don't want you on that head, all right? There's no need for that, right?
Very nice. Ain't nothing there. Everything's fine.
You want this shit? You want this shit?
Beautiful. No, we don't want that. Everything's fine. Great. Once you got the jab going, everything goes.
Yeah, go on like that. Be calm, be calm. Everything is fine. Come on. Take your time. Be calm. Be calm, I'm telling you. You have to go to him. But try to move out.
Okay. Manfred Wilkie, the trainer, is saying be calm so often. Gil, I wonder if he sees that his fighter is showing a tendency to be anything but calm.
Well, he's becoming another Herbie Hyde. You can see he's not relaxed in the corner. He's breathing heavy in the corner. There's a good right hand laid again by Axel Schulz.
And by far the quickest right hand that Schulz has been able to throw.
But they were giving him good advice. He has to calm himself down because that can tire you out as much as anything. George looked like a dancing bear in there in that exchange.
Right hand lands for Axel Schulz, and then another right hand over the top as he steps away. Those straight right hands are doing the work that Schulz wants them to do for the moment. Now inside with a chance to do damage. Foreman tries the uppercut.
Work out of there, guys. Work out.
And Schulz ties him up and steps away.
Again, you see Schulz keeping those hands good and high, not giving much of a target to George outside of the body. There's where George should be banging, and that's what he's doing now.
Schulz quick enough in that last exchange to beat Foreman to the punch.
And look at those hands of Schulz when Foreman gets there, and there they go up again. Keeps his hands very, very high.
Schulz doing a good job of taking advantage of his opportunities inside when Foreman steps in to shorten the distance.
Well, Larry had mentioned that these German athletes are usually very intelligent, and Schulz is being very intelligent in the ring.
And Foreman has heard your advice about going to the body, Gil. Foreman landed a hard right hand to the body inside. Schulz continues to move and jab and try to make the fight in the way that Tommy Morrison and Evander Holyfield did against the slower George Foreman.
Work out of there. Work out of there.
George does fall for feints, and that's what Schulz is doing now. Another right hand by Schulz. And 2 more snapping jabs.
And there's a cut on Schultz's brow when they came in at close quarters,
Yeah, well above the eye. Well, cut way up on Schultz's forehead.
But you know, scalp cuts can bleed profusely, but they're not dangerous at all.
And this one isn't bleeding all that badly for the moment. Axel Schulz having an excellent round 4, Gil. He's got to be earning some respect here now. Stay calm, boys. Stay calm.
In Schultz's corner, they have one of the best men in the business, in Denny Mancini from London, England. Very experienced guy.
Yeah.
There's Denny.
Be calm, nicely. Okay, breathe in. Breathe in.
Foreman standing between rounds, as has been his custom in his comeback career. He had brought a 3-foot stool with the idea of using it between rounds, but Angelo Dundee, the situational trainer who comes in for big fights, has elected not to bring the stool into the ring.
You can see how vulnerable George would be to a really good boxer. And that's why he's picked this opponent, because he doesn't have a reputation as a good boxer. Harold, quickly your score through the first 4 rounds.
Larry, I've got it 39-37, 3 rounds to 1, Axel Schulz. I think he's getting in good shots and getting out, but the question is can Axel Schulz, in the eyes of the judges, win the heavyweight championship of the world by running away? And he is running away from George, no question.
Somebody had to be on the end of that arm, Harold. It didn't look like he was running away when he landed that right hand.
He's throwing a lot of better punches than most of us expected might be the case based on what we've seen on tape.
You think they sent the stock to tape, Jim? Because he certainly doesn't look like the same fighter I watched on tape.
Doesn't look like the guy who fought Akinwande. And the crowd is lifting Schulz up now as he tries to keep bringing it to Big George in round 5. good combination for the German. And now Foreman lands a right hand, but poses and watches his work rather than to go in behind it.
George knew he landed that right hand, though. Got that look in his eye, but he's just being outsped by Axel Schulz up to this point, in my opinion.
Schulz with a good fight plan and executing it well to this point. Hard right hand by Axel Schulz.
And another. Again, I was before the fight, I had mentioned that might be the punch that George had to worry about, and I was worried about George getting cut or maybe that eye closing from those right hands, and he's been hit with quite a few of them.
Wait, hold inside. Get out. Come on. Let's go. Quick out there.
Axel Schulz's right hand lead doing damage to George Foreman, at least on the scorecards. Remember, of course, Michael Moorer, in the eyes of most ringside observers, won the first 9 rounds against Foreman and then was gone in the 10th.
Well, we mentioned that Schulz takes a good rap. Foreman hit him with one of his best right hands, and he punched right back.
But that right hand did stop him in his tracks and buckle him a bit. And you wonder if Schulz isn't getting a little braver than he should be here.
His mouth is wide open now, Larry. But again, he's certainly inflicting a lot of punishment on George Foreman.
But the question may become not how well can he take one punch at a time, but how many of them can he handle over the course of the fight?
I disagree. I don't think George is taking much punishment at all.
I was talking about Schulz, Larry.
I meant I was disagreeing with Gil. I'm sorry.
All righty.
Come on, Charlie. You can do it from out back. Stand back, Charlie. Stand back. Stand back.
Good.
Come on, lay down. Give me the water. Put my leg down, my trunk.
There's that right hand that stopped Schulz momentarily in his tracks, but he did come fighting right back, to his credit. He may not be a gifted or talented fighter, but he's a fighter.
Game fighter, and he takes a heck of a punch.
Seconds out.
And he's got good competitive spirit.
And he's in the fight as round 6 begins.
No question about it in my mind.
I see you've got him winning 4 of the first 5 rounds, Gil.
I certainly do. And I took a peek at Harold Letterman's scorecard. He has it the same way.
But now George is beginning to land in combination. And earlier it was 1 punch at a time.
And I'm watching another fight because I have George ahead 4 rounds to 1.
Wonderful thing about prize fighting, purely subjective.
Get him out of there. Come on, get him out. Let's go, guys. Come on, get him out clean. Come on.
Body shot from Foreman. Germans thought it was low.
George has been landing some stiff jabs in this round.
Slowly, almost imperceptibly, George is stepping up the tempo, Gil.
Yes.
Much in the way he did gradually over the course of the Moorer fight.
Come on, get him out. Come on, guys. Come on, get him out.
Debilitating body punches again. They don't look like much, but they sure add up in the course of a fight.
Come on, get him out of there. Come on. Let's go.
despite all expectations of a false account or mismatch, it has been, up to this point, a much better than expected heavyweight championship fight.
Better than I expected from what I saw on the tapes.
Foreman wide with that right hand. Axel Schulz lands his right hand over the top. Spit bucket.
Okay. Yeah. Up in your mouth wide. Quiet. You're hurting him with those body shots. Real nice.
Here's another example of Schulz coming back from a stiff right that he caught and jumping right on George's face. He's a competitive athlete, if not a polished prize fighter. Perhaps that's all he has to be tonight, Gil.
Well, right now it's a very, very close fight, and he's the younger of the two.
Axel Schulz, the last Olympic hopeful heavyweight product of the East German sports machine prior to the dismantling of socialism in Eastern Europe, fighting against the man who won the Olympic gold medal as a super heavyweight 27 years ago in 1968. Schulz's trainer, Manfred Wolke, won a gold medal in Mexico City in the welterweight class on the same day that Foreman won his gold medal as a super heavyweight and gave us the indelible image of the big Job Corps recruit from Houston dancing around the ring with American flags in both hands.
Did Wolke dance around the ring with German flags, Jim?
Unknown.
Good uppercut by George Foreman on the inside.
Come on, I'll tell you that. Come on, your hands are free.
But apparently Schulz has earned that reputation for having a chin of iron. He's never been on a deck, and he's been hit with some pretty good punches, and he hasn't shown me any wobble as yet.
And if he manages to go the distance, he brings up the question, is it still possible for George to win a decision in a fight like this?
Break out. Get him out of there. Come on, your hands are free, guys. Your hands are free. Work him out. Come on.
Cutting left jab by Foreman. Beginning to put more snap in the jab.
Schulz landed a right hand, and George came back with a left jab that was harder than Schulz's right hand.
Major league swelling over the left eye of Foreman, Gil.
Well, we had mentioned that you have to look out for that, Jim, before the fight.
Hold on.
If you look over the left eyebrow of Foreman, you'll see a mouse big enough to potentially burst and shower the eye with blood.
Okay. You okay? All right, time in. Let's go, George. Keep him up, George.
Warning to Foreman for low blows. Schulz slowing down just a little bit now. Last minute of round 7.
Free, guys. All right, break out clean. Step out.
And finally, Foreman finished an exchange in the center of the ring.
Solid right hand lead by Schulz again on that swelling left eye of George Foreman.
If he manages to bring the blood, it could get very interesting. Another hard right hand by Schulz inside. And another. Axel Schulz making his mark on his first trip to the United States.
Sure. He's probably too short. I'll get it.
Not good, is it?
No. Come here. I'll get it. Okay. Watch this guy's head. Have a look. Break him up when he comes in. That's when he's face butting you.
Well, few observers at ringside would have thought that this would go to the 8th round, but it's a very interesting confrontation now. It's George Foreman with a mouse and heavy swelling above his left eye. Continues to try to bear in on an Axel Schulz who has been surprisingly effective, but has blood in his own brow.
That isn't a dangerous cut at all, but if George's cut bust open, that's going to really burst.
We saw Angelo Dundee using the inswell on it between rounds, Gil.
Well, then, you know, again, that's why I think a fighter should sit down on the stool so you can really administer to him properly. Angelo has to reach way up. You don't get the same pressure that you would get if he was sitting down.
Hard left hand inside, coming up and under Foreman.
But you see Schulz come right back. He's a competitor. He knows he's fighting for the World Championship.
And he's still taking these shots pretty well, isn't he?
Excellent. Good chin.
Break out. Come on, get those arms out. I don't want any wrestling in here, guys. Come on.
Foreman beginning to try to duck away from those right-hand leads. He's ducking under them and robbing himself of the chance to counter.
George looks very, very awkward at the moment in there. Look at those jabs landing. Good solid jabs by Schulz.
And as Schulz recognizes that George is going to try to duck the right-hand leads, he switches to the jab and lands both of them flush.
Beautiful move by Schulz that time. And again, slipped that right-hand lead in.
Break out.
You get the sense that Axel Schulz gains confidence with each passing minute here.
No question. He doesn't realize that he's fighting a George Foreman. Nothing is overawing him anymore. He's just in there in a fight, and he's fighting. Now, that was a little bit of that Tommy Morrison movement that I didn't think he could do, moving that head from side to side, and George couldn't get off. There he is with another 1-2. Combinations again by Schulz. And he just slides over to the right, and George can't find him.
Get him out right there. Come on.
And round 8 comes to a close. And you see the swelling above George Foreman's left eye.
Come here, son. Guy's butting you. You got to watch him coming in. Bury him with body shots when he comes in. Okay?
Angelo's trying to work on that swelling, but again, you see, he didn't keep that end swell on very long, and he's mentioning it. Schulz is butting George, but I think it's those right-hand leads.
You're starting to go. The guy's jumping in on you.
Harold, 8 rounds, 2/3 of the way through this fight. Give us your score.
Larry, I've got it 6 rounds to 2, 78-74, Axel Schulz. Like Gil says, Axel's just out fighting him. I mean, he gets in, he gets off that right hand, and he gets out. And he's just out banging George, landing the cleaner, harder shots, and getting away from George's big shots. I only give George 2 rounds.
Well, I've got 1 round even. I have it 5-2 for Schulz at this point. So George would really have to win the last 4 rounds to eke out a decision.
Larry, you still have Foreman ahead in the fight?
I'm still watching a different fight. I think George dominates most of the rounds, and that Schulz lands a couple of flurries, but I think George wins 2.5 minutes of each round. So I've got him ahead 6 rounds to 2. Probably,
come on, get him out of here, come on.
I should be watching this from Houston maybe, his hometown.
The requisite HBO difference of opinion as we go into the closing rounds. Foreman stalking a knockout just as he did at this stage of the fight against Moorer. Axel Schulz trying to stay with his game plan and continue to bank on his rising confidence, his tenacity, a little bit of creativity, and a ton of guts. Right hand for Schulz over the top. Foreman came back to the body with his own right. Foreman hooking to the body with that left hand. They stand there at close quarters.
Schulz flurried out with a combination again. They were even up until that combination. Uppercut by George. Maybe a little snap out of George's punch at this stage of the fight. And again, another combination by Schulz.
Step back, step back.
There's that right hand over the top again. And again.
Right on the target, which is Foreman's swelling left eye. And you can see Schulz going for it now.
Schulz now is starting to breathe very, very heavily from his mouth. Which is a sign that he's tired.
Come on. Break out clean, break out clean.
Gentlemen, I mentioned at the beginning of the evening that there are 4 men in the heavyweight division doing business as champion of the world, and that Foreman's is the linear title. Is it even conceivable that by the end of the evening your 4 heavyweight champions might be a still little-known Oliver McCall, a Bruce Seldon who was knocked out in the first round by Riddick Bowe, an ostracized and seemingly declining Bowe, and a virtually unknown Axel Schulz of Germany?
Big right hand by Schulz. Big right hand. George Foreman walked right into that punch. Yeah, it is conceivable, Jim.
And George is slowing down as Schulz is picking up steam with 3 rounds yet to go.
Punch out of there. Come on, your hands are free. Punch out of there.
There's Schulz again with another combination. And then he knows enough to move away, get himself set again.
Theater of the unexpected in Las Vegas, and in Germany they're going wild.
Und tief atmen, Jungs, sehr gut.
Breathe, breathe.
Axel, du hast alles drin.
Axel, it's okay.
Alle hinter dir hier.
We are all behind you. Yeah, we are all behind you. You see, everybody's behind you.
Ruhig nach rechts rüber treten, kannst du machen.
And move to the right.
Der kriegt nicht mehr Wert, ja. Rechts rüber treten.
Go to the right.
Und tief atmen.
Watch Schulz in action here at the end of the round where he lands a quick right hand. Not on the chin, but it does score points, and it is discombobulating George, and George knows he's in a fight now.
All right, give me a clean round.
George has given us a lot of surprises. You have to wonder at this point if this is going to be the ultimate surprise.
And there was that quick right hand lead again. This is going to have to be a bigger miracle right now, I think, than the one against Michael Moorer.
Because he's not getting the same chances against Schulz that he got against Moorer. Now George was able to start Moorer toward defeat in the 10th with some haymaker left hooks. He has not landed one of those effective left hooks in this entire bout, Gil.
And the meanwhile, Schulz is just so quick. He's moving away, but when he stops, there he just feinted George. George fell for the feint. Now Foreman feints back. But he keeps that right hand lead going time after time.
In 77 fights, George Foreman has only been passed this 10th round 3 times. Jimmy Young, Evander Holyfield, Tommy Morrison, and you're right, he lost all 3 of those fights.
And George just complained. There's another right hand by Schulz. And George complained to Joe Cortez about something. I don't know what it was.
Well, that left eye is starting to close now, Gil. I'm not sure that his vision isn't slightly impaired at this point.
His vision has to be impaired, and that's very dangerous against a guy with a quick right hand, as Schulz has. And Schulz now is taking chances. He's right there with George, punching with him.
Well, that could be dangerous. Moore has started to take chances, too.
Well, but this guy's a little different guy than Michael Moore. Moore had a history of being on the deck quite a few times in fights, but
this guy's never been down.
Never been down. Look at that right hand to the chin, right hand underneath. Well, again, we mentioned that fighters can go along, and all of a sudden one day they walk up those steps, and they're not the same fighter any longer. And George is showing his age a little bit tonight against a younger, faster guy.
3 judges, 2 from Las Vegas, 1 from Carson City, none from continental Europe, none from Germany.
Well, they have to score the fight the way they're seeing it. Look at Schulz with that right hand, working it overtime. He's really
again holding his own in the exchange, Gil.
Very confident right at the moment.
He believes. He believes right now.
And he's a strong guy. George is not able to push him back with all of that weight and strength that he has. You see Schulz right there with him.
I remember in Tokyo when we began to rehearse for the possibility of calling James Buster Douglas the heavyweight champion of the world. Axel Schulz. Here they are in Frankfurt Oder. Physicians from the Nevada State Athletic Commission talking to Angelo Dundee and George Foreman. As you look at these punch stat numbers that show you 2 different fights. Foreman in the first 5 rounds more effective. Schulz dominating the second 5 rounds. Only referee Joe Cortez is empowered to stop this fight. He can confer with Nevada physicians if he chooses to. Foreman into the 11th round for the 4th time in his career. Again, Young, Holyfield, Morrison, the other 3 fights that went this far, he lost them all.
You can see that the strength of Schulz. George is trying to mug him, push him back, and the guy won't let him. But George is really clubbing now on the inside, landing some good solid punches.
Between rounds, Manfred Wolke told his fighter Axel Schulz, "You're the boss, you're the boss, this is all yours."
George is loose now, though. He knows what he has to do. There's no question about that, but can he do it?
Whatever Foreman's got, look for him to let it all hang out in these last 2 rounds.
Well, that's what he's doing right now. And Schulz is starting to show little signs of wear and tear. It's got to be a tired man pushing that big guy around.
46 years old. Is he fighting on borrowed time, or is there one more miracle left?
This is George's best round up to this point.
He's taken over.
Come on, get him out of there, come on.
Schulz beginning to grab, brawl, push, anything to get Foreman off of him.
What Schulz should be doing now is moving to his right, as his trainer told him to do. But he's standing there punching with George.
And Foreman got in a hard right hand underneath.
But in the meanwhile, George expended a lot of energy in those first 2 minutes. Look for Schulz to make a little bit of a comeback now.
Break out, come on, break out.
Crowd chanting USA, trying to bring back the Olympian in George.
And George is landing the best punches he's landed in this fight. I think he has Schulz in a little trouble.
I think he's got him going right now, Gil. 45 seconds left for the greatest finisher in the history of the heavyweight division.
But this Schulz is a tough guy, competitor.
Come on.
1 round to go after this one. But you wonder if this is George's best chance.
Big right hand on the chin by Schulz again as George walked in.
Fighting back, Axel Schulz.
Break out. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Give me 2 rounds. Come on, man. Give me one more hit, man. One more hit.
1 round to go.
Give it all. Let it all hang out, baby. Okay?
That's the last. It's the last round. You have to move. Move.
Come on.
Come on.
From the side.
Keep away. Come on, keep away.
And Schulz started the round off. Right hand lead again, right on that eye.
He makes that statement as often as he can.
But Schulz, they told him to stay away, but he wants to fight. Harold Letterman, quickly your score through 11 rounds.
Larry, 107, 102, 8 rounds to 3. Axel Schulz, I think the kid outfought him. I think he stood there, he banged with George, landed the cleaner, harder shots. I think he's winning the fight.
Well, we're going to have to see if Las Vegas judges will give Schulz the fight. I have George winning the fight. I guess maybe I've been due for a bad one, Harold. You and I have disagreed on some others.
Usually I agree with you, Larry. This time I agree with Harold. I have it 1 round closer.
Foreman's eye totally closed now.
But again, I have Schulz winning the fight.
Axel Schulz getting a lot of free shots with the right hand. There's a 20-year age difference, and the difference in experience and reputation, which is simply too vast to describe. George Foreman, in his 78th fight, a heavyweight legend, against a man who was almost universally regarded as undeserving of this title shot. But from moment one, Axel Schulz has been unafraid, and in many ways, he has controlled the fight throughout.
George is trying, but he just can't do it. He can't pull that trigger. We mentioned fighters go up the steps and all of a sudden something's missing, and something's missing with George tonight.
A chance for Germany to celebrate its first heavyweight championship in more than 60 years. If the judges see it the way Gil Clancy and Harold Letterman have told you they see it, with Axel Schulz in control. 50 seconds left for Foreman to pull out a miracle. The linear heavyweight championship that goes back through Tyson, Holmes, Ali, all the way to John L. Sullivan, the one being contested here.
Another right hand by Schulz. Schulz is a fighter. No question about that.
They're on their feet in Vegas, and they're about to watch a moment of potential boxing history. And in a minute, you'll see the scene in Frankfurt Oder where the celebration has already begun. It's going to be up to the judges.
And George did not go back to his corner as though he felt he was still the heavyweight champion.
Well, listening to Michael Buffer read this decision is going to be a dramatic moment in my life.
That's Frankfurt Oder, Germany, guys. a city of 85,000 people just on the Polish border. It's the hometown of 26-year-old Axel Schulz, who in a moment may add his name to those of Oliver McCall, Bruce Seldon, and Riddick Bowe. Certainly one of the most unlikely collections of heavyweight champions in the turbulent recent history of the division. Harold Letterman, your final scorecard.
Jim, 117, 111, 9 rounds to 3, Axel Schulz. I thought he closed it beautifully. I mean, he outfought him, whacked him with right hands, won that 12th round. I think he put an exclamation point on a fight in that 12th round. He fought in the 12th round the way he fought most of the fight, stayed inside with George and banged on him. I mean, I thought he fought a nice fight, took George's best shots. I think he deserves it.
And Gil Clancy, you likewise have Schulz winning the fight.
I have him a little closer than Harold. I have him 4 points ahead.
Larry Merchant, as you know, believes that Foreman was controlling enough to win. Larry's already gone into the ring, and now a moment of drama. Let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer to find out who's the heavyweight champ.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at the MGM Grand of Las Vegas, we go to the scorecards. Schulz Jampa scores the belt, 114-114. He has it even. Jerry Roth scores the belt, 115-113. Keith McDonald scores it, 115-113 for the winner by majority decision, and still heavyweight champion of the world, Big George Foreman.
Well, you can see them throwing stuff at the screen in Germany. There's considerable disbelief, particularly along press row here, where some of the most famous names in American boxing writing are holding thumbs down right now on what they think was a bad decision. But George Foreman has retained the heavyweight championship, and Larry Merchant, as it turns out, the judges agreed with you. Let's go to Larry.
Okay, George, were you in any way surprised by the decision?
You know what happened? I told everybody, when you fight Germans, you're going to have to fight every round. They're not going to just give you a fight. A lot of people were surprised, but I knew this guy would be tough. But I started to fight back. I stopped waiting around for a knockout and started building up points. So I'm not surprised at all. I'm always surprised when somebody gives me a decision against anybody. They don't seem to like to give me decisions.
Well, perhaps some people will think they gave you a decision tonight. Was he a different fighter than the one you expected?
Not at all. He was the same fight. He took a lot of punishment. I don't know where he should take those punches from, but J.D. Foreman at home told me to take this fight.
In
so
all the fights
you got your share, Daddy.
In all the fights we had seen, he had been an aggressor. Tonight he tried to go to school on some of the fighters who fought you, like Tommy Morrison.
Yeah,
was that a surprise?
He ran. You don't give fighters the championship for running, man.
Do you think that was the difference, particularly in the early rounds, that he didn't start engaging you seriously until the second half of the fight?
Yeah, he started engaging, but not enough. He would still run after he'd do anything. He'd run, and I'd build up my points with jabbing.
Did you at any time hurt him?
Oh, too many times. That's why he was able to run so effectively. He had to run. But, you know, the guy was a great fighter. He wasn't in the 6-1 odds, you can believe that. The guy had a great fight. If I had known that he would hang in like that, I would have just started an aggressive, building up points system earlier. But I was trying for a knockout until about the 7th round.
Angelo Dundee, going out to the last round, said, you got to let it hang all out, George. Did you know that round could decide the fight?
That's true, and I went out there and just dug it in. I hit him 3 times, he hit me 1. I hit him 3 more times, he hit me another. So I won the point system.
Did you said before the fight that it was hard getting back to the top of the mountain. You weren't sure if you could push yourself to stay on top of the mountain.
Yeah,
was it harder?
You know, it's a hard thing for me to go out there and just be champion. I mean, I can't really get psyched up to win. I jab a guy and he runs from me. I said, so what? You can't do anything. But when you're a challenger, you go out there and meet the challenger, always climbing the heel. So it's a little more difficult being a champion for me.
Do you think, based on this fight, that people are going to say they still want to see you fight Mike Tyson?
Hey, I'm the heavyweight champ of the world. What you doing asking questions like that?
You've been goading Mike. You've been goading him, challenging him all week.
Mike Tyson wouldn't have given me a hard fight like that because he wouldn't have run like that fella ran. That fella ran. Mike Tyson's too brave. If he'd stand up there and go toe-to-toe, one of us would hit the ground. Wouldn't be but 2 licks past. I hit him and he hit the ground, or he hit me and I hit the ground. 4 licks.
There's been a lot of skepticism that whether that fight can be made. Do you believe, despite the obstacles, that ultimately the fight with Mike Tyson will be made?
Mike Tyson would have to come to HBO or TVKO. That's all there is to it. If he's ever going to fight me, I'm not fighting out there for those rootin' tootin' cowboy ranger stripping belt people. I'm not fighting for those people. He's out there. He's signed a 5-fight deal to fight people he can beat. I'm with HBO fighting people I can't hardly whip. So I want to stick with HBO.
All right. Thank you very much, George.
Yeah, you see, Daddy, you put me in that fight, didn't you? Uh-huh. J.D. Foreman, you J.D. Foreman, you.
George. All right, Jim.
All right, so George Foreman says it's the decision that he expected and thinks he deserved. Larry Merchant was the one in our group who agreed with it. Gil Clancy, any revisionist thinking from you? You still think Schulz should have won the fight?
Oh, absolutely not. I thought that Schulz was too quick for George, landed too many clean punches. George was the aggressor. He was chasing Schulz, but he wasn't the effective aggressor. He wasn't landing too many solid punches, in my opinion.
And just for the record, my own quick survey of American boxing writers, a long press row here, yields only one, Tim Kawakami of the Los Angeles Times, who scored it for Foreman. Big names like Michael Katz of the New York Daily News, Wally Matthews of the New York Post, Alan Malamud of the Los Angeles Times, various others, all scoring the fight for Axel Schulz. Now let's go back up to the ring and Larry Merchant. Larry?
All right, Axel, give us your feelings about the decision.
Axel, wie fühlen Sie sich über die Entscheidung?
Ja, ist jetzt sehr schwer zu sagen, unmittelbar nach dem Kampf. Ich denke, George ist ein großer Champ.
It's very difficult to say. I think George is a big champion.
Wenn der größte Champ ist, gibt mir ein Rematch in Deutschland.
If he really is the biggest champion that I think he is, he will give me a chance for a rematch in Germany.
Dann ist der größte für mich.
So for me, he is the biggest.
Do you think that he received the decision because he is a veteran, popular champion, and that he was fighting in his home country with his home judges?
Glauben Sie, dass gewonnen hat, weil eine sehr große Erfahrung hat und auch weil in seinem eigenen Lande gekämpft hat?
Ja, ich denke schon. Deswegen hoffe ich eigentlich auf ein Rematch in Deutschland und dann werden wir sehen.
I think that's true, but I hope that he will give me a rematch in Germany.
You seemed a little nervous early in the fight. When did you realize that you could fight him on even terms?
Am Anfang, waren Sie etwas nervös. Wann haben Sie denn wirklich geglaubt, dass Sie also wirklich mit ihm Hand zu Hand boxen könnten?
Eigentlich von Anfang an. Ich konnte mich nicht gleich in den ersten Runden auf den Schlagabtausch einlassen, weil zu viel Erfahrung hat und zu viel Power hat.
I knew from the beginning, but I couldn't start to punch with him since the beginning because I had to get into this fight.
Did he ever hurt you?
Hat er Ihnen jemals Schmerzen zugefügt? Hat er ihn also wirklich mächtig? Hat er Sie mächtig geschlagen?
Er hat mich einmal hart erwischt, aber es war auch das einzige Mal. Ansonsten war eigentlich nicht so ein Druck drin, weil ich denke, gerade in den ersten Runden habe ich doch den Druck rausgenommen, wo eigentlich unsere Taktik aufgebaut war.
Yes, he hit me only once hard, but I think after the first couple of rounds, I took a little bit of his power away, and that's how I kept the fight going.
Give us your impressions of the experience of fighting for the heavyweight championship and of the your overall sense of what happened here tonight.
Erzählen Sie uns bitte, wie Sie also jetzt diese Erfahrung verarbeiten werden, hier in der Weltmeisterschaft zu kämpfen und was Sie also in der Zukunft machen wollen.
Ja, in der Zukunft ist jetzt schwierig zu sagen. Ich hoffe eigentlich auf ein Rematch, weil ich denke, dieser Kampf ist sehr gut angekommen, auch beim Publikum, und es war wirklich sehr eng. Aber ich habe mich eigentlich vorhin gesehen von den Treffern her, weil doch viel auf die Deckung ging. Und wie gesagt, er hat mich nur einmal hart getroffen.
Like I said before, I hope for a rematch in Germany, and I have to say that I think the people like this fight, and he is a very good fighter, and I hope to fight him again.
Thank you for giving us more of a fight than many people expected.
Besten Dank, dass Sie uns einen wesentlich besseren Kampf gegeben haben, als wir wirklich alle gedacht haben.
Oh,
bitte. Thank you.
Auf Wiedersehen. Jim?
We'll see again Axel Schulz. More of a fight than most of us expected. I see that as maybe the biggest understatement of the evening. Let's get a response from 9 time zones away. Frankfurt Oder, Germany, where it's now 6:30 in the morning. You saw some of the response of German fans there who were throwing objects at the big screen after the decision was announced. Here's Andreas Dieck once again of RTL. And Andreas, I have to assume there is a great deal of anger there in the square of Frankfurt Oder.
Well, anger, hello from Frankfurt again. Anger and frustration, of course, because people thought that Axel Schulz has won the fight. And they think the decision is unfair and not correct, but that's how sports is, yeah. They were cheering, they were applauding during the fight. They were sure that Axel will be the winner. And then the end like it was, and they were very, very frustrated. That's true, yeah.
And, of course, the consolation for them, the salve in their wounds, if there is to be any, is that Schulz made a name for himself tonight, and we can expect to see him again prominent in the heavyweight division.
Well, that's what we all hope here as well. I think Axel, despite his loss, he won a lot. He won sympathy, he won respect, and we will see him again and doing hopefully better than this time, yeah.
Maybe we'll see you again too, Andreas Dieck. Thanks very much for your work tonight. All right, final comment on both fighters, Gil. Axel Schulz and George Foreman.
Well, Axel Schulz, he says he wants a rematch in Deutschland, Germany, but I think he should ask for a rematch any place. Remember, George is still the champion, but it would be a good rematch, but doesn't necessarily have to be in Germany.
You think that George will go through with his plan to keep fighting until at least the end of 1995?
Well, again, I had mentioned that nobody had proved to George that he should retire. I mean, I think this fight should prove it to George that maybe he's not as good as he was even a year ago. But George is a funny guy. I mean, you heard him in his interview with Larry. He really thinks he won that fight. I mean, of course I don't, but this is objective sport.
All right. Thanks very much, Gil. Another great job filling in for George Foreman as our expert commentator on this telecast. Larry Merchant, you are ultimately vindicated in the sense that the judges here at ringside agreed with you that George had done enough to win the fight. Your final comments on what you saw.
Well, first let me say that I thought George won many more of the early rounds than my two colleagues thought, and that's why I thought he won the fight. I thought that he was winning big portions of those rounds with his jabs and his body punches. Be that as it may, I think a case certainly can be made like Joe Louis against Jersey Joe Walcott, that you really got to beat up the heavyweight champion, a popular heavyweight champion, to win the title from him. That's just prize fighting, whether it's just or not. We said earlier tonight that George would be judged by a higher standard, no longer the cuddly old grandpa. The amazement of this 46-year-old man still fighting in a heavyweight championship fight, the heavyweight championship of the champion of the world, no less. I think he will be judged now as a champion, and I think many people now will say it was great while it lasted, but George really isn't up to being a heavyweight champion. But George thinks he's a heavyweight champion. He's got it, and somebody's going to have to go and take it from him. I don't know. Maybe nobody can.
My final observation, we told you about the 3 previous 12-round fights that he lost to Jimmy Young and Evander Holyfield and Tommy Morrison. Maybe after those 3 losses, George was simply due to finally get a decision in a 12-round fight. Well, after a few minutes, we'll have a final word on what happened here tonight. But first, let's look ahead to the next sensational event in boxing upcoming in 2 weeks on pay-per-view. It's the battle between Los Angelinos, Rafael Ruelas against Oscar De La Hoya for superiority and supremacy in the 135-pound weight class. They join us now together, live from the Big Bear Inn in Big Bear, California, where both fighters have trained at altitude in the past. And both fighters, of course, are getting ready for this confrontation on the 22nd or on the 6th of May, which has been long awaited. Oscar De La Hoya, I'll start with you. You must be excited. I'm sure that everyone around you is excited about all the attention that's being paid to this fight and the buzz you're creating in the boxing world.
Well, I'm very excited. May 6th, it's going to be a good fight. So the people should expect a good war. And, of course, he's ready, I'm ready. So just can't wait.
Rafael Ruelas, Oscar has the Golden Boy Olympic reputation. You've come up in slightly more obscure circumstances and earned your way to the top with a lot of tough fighting. Does this fight in some ways mean more to you than it does to De La Hoya?
Well, you know what, I have the, I would say, the more prestigious title. I've been fighting for a lot longer than he has as a professional. I know that he's got more prestige because of the gold medal, but this fight is very important to me. It's another fight that I need to win, and I'm going to win on May 6th.
Recognizing that this may be a little awkward because you're sitting next to each other, I've got to ask this. Rafael, how long have you known Oscar? How well have you known him? And how much time have you spent in the ring with him in the past?
Well, I've known him since I was 12 years old. We really didn't spend a lot of time. We weren't like buddies, you know. We never really hung out. We would just see each other at different shows. So we fought a couple of times, had our exhibitions, and we also sparred against each other. But it hasn't been, you know, over 12 years. It really hasn't been a lot of time.
You fought twice as amateurs, Rafael?
We fought, I believe it was 3 times. We also had an exhibition.
Does that square with your memory, Oscar?
Yes, it does. You know, when you're little kids, you square off with each other and have exhibition fights and have real fights. And, of course, we're putting all that in the past because we're 2 mature fighters now. And, you know, May 6th, I'm going to have a fun night. It's going to be a good night for us.
Do you think it's an advantage to you, Oscar, to know Rafael as well as you think you know him?
Of course it is. I mean, the way he studies videos of me, I'm going to study videotapes of him. So, you know, we are both going to have advantages towards each other, but it's still going to be a good fight.
Oscar, what's your style advantage against Rafael Ruelas?
Well, I'm going to go up with about 5 styles, so that's all I can say.
Rafael, what's your style advantage against Oscar?
My style is not going to change. I'm going after him. I did that in the amateurs. I'm going to do that in this fight, too.
All right, gentlemen, you both played it very close to the vest. I doubt that either of you will be adopting that tactic when you get in the ring together here in Las Vegas on May 6th. I look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Oscar De La Hoya and Rafael Ruelas meeting here May 6th for supremacy in the lightweight division. That fight is expected to sell more tickets here in Vegas even than the great and beloved George Foreman did for his title defense tonight. I'll be back in a moment with a word on what happened here in the ring tonight.